Welcome to the Phil Steele FCS Tour for Saturday, November the 2nd. Up for you today, we got 5 selections and 1 quick hitter. Last week turned out to be 2-2 to drop the record, or to keep the record at 15-9 on the season. Could easily have been 3-1. There was one game that was a loss. The Northern Iowa scored a touchdown on 4th and 24 for the backdoor cover at the end of the game, or else it would have been a 3-1 week last week, and we'd be talking about 16-8 right now. But the record's 15-9, and we've got 5 plays for you today. Now, Chris done a great job on Ivy League Plays of the Week. I believe the record was 5-1 last year. I'm going to have to go back and look that up. But I know the record is 1-0 this year, and it's only the second one all season. So I'm excited. We got an Ivy League Play of the Week, and that's what we're starting out with here. We got Penn against Brown, and Chris says that Brown, and once again, just reading straight off the text, we'll learn about these teams together. Brown is 3-3 after an impressive win over Harvard. They had an impressive win this year over Harvard. The Bears beat Penn on the road 30-26 last year. Okay, so let's go back to last year. Last year they beat Penn on the road 30-26. 2 years ago, they beat Penn at home, 34-31. So they've won the last 2 years against Penn. That's good to know. Penn is just 2-4 this year, and they've lost their last 2 to Columbia and Yale, and those were at home. Now, the Quakers' wins were over Colgate and Bucknell, 2 teams that have losing records. Last week, they were outgained 497-199 in a 31-10 loss to Yale. Brown is plus 126 yards per game in Ivy League play. Let's go back up here. Take a look at that. There they are, plus 126 yards per game. Use this conference total because the non-conference games, you could play a myriad of different teams. You may be playing Power 5 teams, etc., or you may be playing Division 3 teams. But the conference YPG is very important, especially in the FCS. Here you are, plus 126 yards per game. Penn is minus 199 yards per game. Now, on the schedule that we have, let's see if I can find the schedule here. Press box. Yeah, there it is. Just to let you know, we've added that as far as the FBS games go, this column, Conference AGG. And I can tell you that this game, since they're -3, this would be a best bet or a green here. And remember, this schedule predictor, it's called Schedule Predictor. When you go to the menu here, you see where it says Schedule Predictor. That's how you get to this. Ton of best bets. The best bets went 7-2 last week. Here's the records for all the best bets. 9-1 for the strength of schedule. Revenge plays went 4-2, but that's all up there. But we do use the YPG. And so plus 126 versus minus 199, you got to like that. Jake Wilcox over here had a 17-9 ratio last year. He started 6-1 the first 3 games, but he has thrown 7 interceptions the last 3 games. Penn is giving up 70% completions. Take a look over here. And 285 yards per game. They're number 105 in the pass D efficiency. So we're saying that Jake Wilcox should get back to his form, which is outstanding QB. The AGG has Brown by 6.3. The last 4 weeks right here, Brown's playing to a 62.1 level. They're playing to a 52 level. Add in the home field edge, it's Brown by 11.3. And Brown is actually an underdog here? Wow, I was thinking they were favored. They're an underdog, plus 3.5. I like that. I thought for sure they'd be favored with all those numbers we just threw out at you, especially with the fact they're at home and they've beaten Penn the last 2 years, and they're an underdog, plus 3.5. We're going to take Brown, plus 3.5 over Penn. All right, your next game, we've got William and Mary at North Carolina A&T. I don't even know what North Carolina A&T's nickname is. Oh, there it is, the Aggies. And they are taking on William and Mary. And let's see what we got here. William and Mary is 5-3 this year, coming off a surprising 35-13 loss to Stony Brook. Now, William and Mary had 4 turnovers and were stopped on downs twice. NC&T is 1-7 with 6 straight losses. See a lot of red there. The only win came against Division II Winston-Salem, and that was just by 7 points. So we got a poor NC&T team. Against FCS teams, A&T is minus 25 points per game, minus 152 yards per game. Now, we went against A&T last week at Campbell, and the Aggies lost 21-7. In their last home game, they lost to Hampton 59-17. Right here. See, they lost to Hampton. Look over here. These guys beat Hampton 49-7. So you got to like that. And in that game, Hampton had a 632 to 214 yard edge over here. 632 to 214 yard edge. William & Mary is plus 96 yards per game against CAA foes, while North Carolina A&T is minus 125 yards per game. Not much of a home crowd, so you don't have to really worry about the home field edge. And A&T is on a 5-3 ATS run since joining CAA. And I'll remind you here, you got FCS information. You can get this year's FCS logs available right here. And we could see North Carolina A&T. And once again, the win-loss refers to what they did against the spread. You can see what the score is on the games. So North Carolina, that's FCS, FBS. Let's go to FCS logs and go to find North Carolina A&T, see what they're doing this year. North Carolina A&T. Here they are. Win, loss, 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 win, loss, loss. So they're doing poor against the spread, as you can see. And we actually have the last 6 years logs here. You can go back and see what they've done every single year against the spread. And as you can see here, quite a few losses last year. They only had 3 wins all season against the spread. So a lot of good advantages there. William & Mary still in the mix for a playoff spot. So they need convincing wins. The computer is William & Mary by 24. AGG is William & Mary by 22. Last 4 weeks is William & Mary by 21. Right here, look at this. Last 4 weeks, 78 to 54.9. Even given them the 2-point home edge, you're still at William & Mary by 21. So he's going against NCA&T for the second straight week and taking William & Mary minus 15.5. I thought they'd be about a 3-touchdown favorite by what we were just describing. Take William & Mary minus 15.5 over North Carolina A&T. All right, let's go to Stony Brook against Bryant. Stony Brook is the visitor, so we're going to put them on the left. Stony Brook. There they are. And Bryant is the home team. They are on the right. Once again, when you're handicapping the FCS, you can do the exact same thing. Line up one against the other. Look at the red over here. Look at the green over here. I got a feeling, without even reading what he's written here, that we're going to be going with Stony Brook in this game. And Stony Brook, I just looked, is a 7.5-point favorite. Now, just glancing at the screen, seeing all this green here and all this red here, would you say 7.5-point favorite? I would have made it more, but let's see what the write-up says. Stony Brook is the surprise of the FCS this year. They were 0-11 last year and hired head coach Bill Kosh right here, who was the offense coordinator at Western Michigan. They were number 3 in total offense in the MAC last year. Now, Stony Brook lost to Marshall. That's not a bad loss, guys. And then they won 4 straight. We used the Seawolves plus 16.5 against Villanova. Now, Villanova is number 6 in the country, keep in mind. So they're not this. They're not a losing team. Villanova is one of the best teams in the country. And they actually led 24-21 in the third quarter. They gave up 2 long fourth quarter TD runs and lost 42-24 in that game. Stony Brook was plus 11.5 against Towson. They won outright 52-24. Plus 7.5 against William & Mary last week. They won 35-13. So we have an undervalued team here in Stony Brook that the Vegas hasn't quite caught on to yet. They must have had a bad record last year. Yep, bad record last year. This isn't last year's team. This is this year's team. But I guess a lot of the power ratings are still based on last year, and that's not the case this year. So let's see what else we got. This is Bryant's first year in CAA. They are 2-6, but 0-6-1 against the spread. I can go back and show you that, but you know where to look. Just use your Phil Steele Plus. Jarrett Guest is a Coastal Carolina transfer. He has a 13-4 ratio, but he missed their last game. Remember, individual player stats are right here. You can see Guest was doing very good, missed the Richmond game in the last game. His coach says that his head coach Chris Merritt says he'll be back sometime this season. That makes us think that it's going to be Brennan Meyer here this week, and he threw for just 121 yards in Bryant's 41-14 loss to Richmond. Bryant, as mentioned, minus 146 yards per game in league play. Meanwhile, Stony Brook plus 35 yards per game in league play. Stony Brook's Roland Dempster, and let's take a look at Roland Dempster here. He is not a dumpster fire. He is on fire is what he is. 144, 103, 115, 158, 179. Even had a 160 here, but 5 straight 100-yard games. And he's taken on a rush D that just gave up 328, 7.8, and 226, 5.1. So he should have a big game here. Bryant's also number 117 in our pass efficiency defense rankings. And once again, we have those updated for the FCS. Let's take a look there. FCS, come on. All right, here we go. FCS information, pass defense. And this takes into account the strength of opponent. Look at this. They played a 9 opponent. They played a 12. That's included in the evaluation. And you come all the way down here, and there you see Bryant, number 117. They are giving up 67%, 20 touchdown passes, only 2 interceptions all year. So that's available for you. And let's see, our computer has Stony Brook by 24. The last 4 weeks, AGG 82.7 to 57.7 has them by 23. And the line Stony Brook minus 7.5. Go with the Stony Brook to move closer to a share of the CAA title. Stony Brook 38 to 17. All right, let's take a look at Incarnate Word against Houston Christian. And here we have Incarnate Word at home. So we're going to put him on the right. And we're going to put Houston Christian on the left. See what we got going on here. Incarnate Word is 6-2 and ranked number 10 in the FCS. They lost to South Dakota State, the defending champs, and they were only outgained by 100 yards in that game, and they lost to Southern Illinois by 7. Those are 2 really good teams. One of their losses was to South Dakota, and they trailed 31-24 in the fourth quarter. Houston Christian's 3-5. Their best win came when we went against them with McNeese State, and they pulled the upset 43-22 a few weeks back. Since then, they lost to Southeast Louisiana State 37-7 and SF Austin 55-6. Incarnate Word beat that same Southeast Louisiana team 34-31 last week. Incarnate Word has a huge edge on offense, putting up 60 yards per game, more than their foes' average. That's right here. You see the 60? Incarnate Word is minus 75 versus their opponent foes. And that's number 107 in the FBS. They're also number 110, by the way, giving up 80 yards above their opponent's average. Incarnate Word says wins by 24 over a pretty good Northern Arizona team, 28 over Prairie View A&M, and 45 over Nichols. The line is Incarnate Word minus 21.5, but my computer says Incarnate Word by 33, and Chris agrees. We're taking Incarnate Word minus 21.5 over Houston Christian. Let's take a look at Missouri State against Southern Illinois, and this is one that made Scott Van Pelt's bad beats. Let's go find Missouri State here. There they are. And let's go find Southern Illinois. Now, last week, Chris gave out Missouri State. I'm not sure what the spread was, but it was less than 14, greater than 7. It had to be like 8, 9, 10, something in that area. And they're winning. It's 49. Take a look here. It's 49 to 35. And at the end of the game, look at this, 49-35, and Northern Illinois comes down the field. 4th and goal at the 28 with 44 seconds left. And a 28-yard TD pass gives the backdoor cover, and Missouri State does not cover last week. So that's tough. But Missouri State's now won 6 in a row, as you see here. And they were minus 9.5, by the way. And that 4th and 28 TD pass really hurt them. Southern Illinois has now lost 5 straight, both straight up and ATS. Once again, if we go back to the logs, you can still see that they lost 5 straight ATS. Phil Steele Plus members, just go to your logs, click on Southern Illinois, and you'll see 5 straight L's in their column there. And they're down to their 3rd-string quarterback, Jake Curry. Let's see what they have here. Began the year with DJ Williams at QB, went to Hunter Simmons at QB, and now they're down to Jake Curry. Once again, these individual stats are amazing, and they really help you point out the individual things that you don't see just by glancing at a team like this. The Redbirds lost 24-3 against North Dakota State 2 weeks ago, but North Dakota State had South Dakota State on deck. Last week they lost to Indiana State 20-17, who has been near the bottom of the Missouri value for 3 straight years. Let's take a look at Indiana State. Just take a quick peek here, because we can do that. Well, Indiana State's a bad team, and look at all this red here. And Indiana State's minus 82, so we see that, yes, indeed, they are a bad team. Okay, let's get Missouri State back up over here. And as mentioned, Missouri State's a good team. They lost to Montana, and they lost to Ball State. So those are 2 pretty good losses. The rest have all been wins for them. Missouri State beat that same Indiana State team that they lost to 46-21 last week. And they also beat Illinois State 41-7. And they lost Illinois State 48-10. Missouri Valley State is plus 121 yards per game in conference play. And Southern Illinois is minus 54. The computer has Missouri State by 16. The last 4 weeks says by 20. You got 67 versus 85. Add in a 2-point home edge. You see 20.5 for Missouri State. And the line is just 9.5. So take Missouri State minus 9.5 over Southern Illinois. So that's your fifth play. I do have a quick hitter for you. Chris wanted to throw this one in there because it's your typical red-green game. And it is Central Arkansas against Utah Tech. And what I mean by red-green game is that it's a matchup game. And it's something that both Chris and I really like. You get a team that's got a great rush offense, all green. Look at this. They're putting up 222 6.0 against a defense that's giving up 296 6.0. That means they're going to be gaining 6 yards every time they run the ball. They'll run the ball right down the field, score a touchdown, run the ball right down the field, score a touchdown. Look at their offense. A lot of red here. There's even some green here on the defense for them. So you got a lot of advantages there. And Chris also says that Central Arkansas 6-2 on the season, rushing for 222 6.6. Shunderick Powell, this guy right here, 1,161 yards, 8.2. If you got him on your put him on your fantasy football team this week, guys. Look what he's running up against. A team that's given up over 300 yards per game rushing, 6.0. You think Powell's not going to have a big game? He only had 70 yards last week. He's ready to explode after being slowed down by Northern Alabama. And they're taking on the worst rush D in the FCS. The offense only averages 279 yards per game. Their average loss by 29. Central Arkansas did have blowout wins against Austin Peay and Arkansas Pine Bluff. Utah Tech lost to that same Austin Peay team, has been crushed by Tarleton 42-0. North Alabama 60-14, and Abilene Christian by 25. The line is over 3 touchdowns, so he just made it a quick hitter, but he wanted to show you that red-green matchup. You got to love it when you got a team that runs the ball like this against a team that doesn't run the ball. And once again, if these numbers were just black, you wouldn't even be able to see that at a glance. But the fact they're color-coded green and red makes it even better. Remember, you've got the FCS magazine available on philsteele.com. 2 full pages on every FCS team. All this information. You've got the spreads down here. You got last year's stats, last year's leaders. Complete write-up on each team. That's all available at philsteele.com. And don't forget, I've got the Phil Steele Plus special right now. You can actually get all this FCS access, all the FBS access, all the NFL access, all the way through the Super Bowl for just $69 right here. That's $3.83 a week. And you have access to all this. It's all the information I use. It's what Chris uses on the FCS. Take $10 off. Type in the code word expert wins. You get it for $69 right now. All right, let's have a big winning week here on the FCS Tour. Almost 3-1 last week, but it was 2-2. 15-9 on the year. An Ivy League play of the week. You got to be excited. And thank you for taking the Phil Steele Plus Tour.